price of watermelons has crashed now. Despite the high quality, we can't sell them at a good price. We are left smashing the watermelons or feeding them to cows. What can the farmers do? They invested 2 million yuan, and now the money is gone. The watermelon farmers are heartbroken and almost in tears. I never imagined in my wildest dreams that watermelon prices could crash like this after years of farming. Looking at the 100 greenhouses full of watermelons makes me want to cry. It feels like my heart is being cut with a knife. My husband works in the greenhouses day and night, waking up earlier than the chickens and sleeping later than the pigs. His skin is peeling from sunburn, and he's put in so much hard work and sweat. I feel so sorry for him. I'm only in my 30s, but selling watermelons has turned out to be a total loss. We can't even recover our costs, and we are losing money on labor too. After 6 months of hard work, who wouldn't feel terrible? If you make money, others are jealous. If you lose money, they laugh at you. Nothing seems to go right. Sometimes I wonder what the point of living is.
Some farmers say, in the past, we could make a profit of $70,000 a year from growing watermelons, but now we're losing $28,000. A 30-year-old man gave up a high-paying job worth 400,000 yuan to grow watermelons. After 5 months, he lost 30 pounds and more than 100,000 yuan, eating whatever he could find, waking up early, working late, facing rain and wind. This is the real life of a young watermelon farmer. Let's listen to the thoughts of new farmers returning to the countryside. I've lost over 30 kilograms in 5 months. I'm 30 years old. What made you decide to return home to farm? I was lured by the promise of big profits. They said I could make a lot of money. I thought I'd try a few acres first. Unexpectedly, I invested 300,000 yuan and only made 130,000 yuan, losing 170,000 yuan. China has a large watermelon industry, not only in production, but also consumption. With a population of 1.4 billion, Chinese people eat about 16 billion watermelons each year, averaging more than 11 per person. China's annual production is about 80 million tons, accounting for about 70% of the world's total. However, this is still not enough to meet the demand. This enormous enthusiasm for eating watermelons requires both domestic supply and foreign imports to satisfy. In 2019 alone, China imported about 5.8 times the amount of watermelons it exported. For every watermelon exported to others, China imports 5, ensuring its watermelon appetite is well satisfied. However, after COVID, China can no longer support the abundant production of watermelons. Talking about the unsellable agricultural products in China, it has been a common issue for years. In years of abundant harvest, many fruits to vegetables face slow sales. Look at this. The durians that others can't afford to eat are piled up like mountains at the farm. Even the local pigs are eating durians because of the large amounts that ripen daily and can't be sold, so they end up being used as fertilizer. Since the second half of 2020, various agricultural products in China have seen sluggish sales. In July, over 3,000 acres of black plums in Dali County, Shaanxi Province, remained unsold, with thousands of tons of plums piled up. Gansu's Huainu apples, selling for only 30 cents per 500 grams, also faced poor sales last month. Many vegetables are also unsold and rotting in the fields. The biggest losers in unsold agricultural products are the farmers. Farming not only requires significant time and effort, but also substantial investments in land, pesticides, fertilizers, and many other costs. When the products can't be sold, it means the farmer's hard work for several months or even an entire year goes to waste. In severe cases, they can't even recover their costs. So, every time there's a harvest, farmers worry about prices and sales. Why does China's agricultural products often face sluggish sales? One reason is a highly imperfect agricultural market setup, insufficient information sharing across regions, and high circulation costs. In 2020, during the pandemic, major e-commerce platforms actively supported the sale of agricultural products. Online live streaming sales were no longer a novel mode of selling. To cope with COVID-19, e-commerce giants like Alibaba, JD.com, Suning, and Pinduoduo launch initiatives to assist farmers facing difficulties. Taobao established a charity fund for agricultural assistance and started live streaming to help sell unsold agricultural products. With a 1 billion yuan charity fund, Taobao implemented 10 measures, including opening a dedicated line to collect information on unsold agricultural products, launching special sales sections for these products on Taobao, and increasing bulk purchases from key production areas to boost sales. Taobao also created the Foodie Aid for Farmers section to help farmers access sales channels. Taobao's official streamers connected with farmers from regions like Shandong, Sichuan, and Zhejiang to launch the Direct Sales of Specialty Products campaign in order to promote unsold agricultural products. However, in 2024, the e-commerce platforms remained silent about the watermelon price crash. Due to high distribution costs, they realized they couldn't handle the heavy and low-profit watermelons through e-commerce and logistics. Why do Japan and the US rarely face issues with unsold agricultural products? In Japan, watermelons can be sold for up to $7 each, whereas in China, they can be as cheap as $3 each. This is mainly due to the scientific management and market layout of agriculture in these two countries. In Japan, the government and innovation play significant roles in managing agricultural products to protect farmers' interests. Every step from the farm to the consumer involves government intervention. To reduce circulation costs, local governments in Japan promote direct sales of agricultural products, with agricultural cooperatives helping farmers set up sales centers and organize sales. This allows farmers to set their own prices, increasing their profit margins. Japan's agricultural products are known for their high prices because farmers avoid product homogenization at the production stage. They are encouraged to grow unique, high-quality agricultural products that not only have a competitive edge in the domestic market, but also fetch high prices when exported. In the United States, agricultural products rarely face sales issues, mainly due to the role of agricultural cooperatives and associations. After harvesting, farmers can rely on these cooperatives to consolidate and sell their products. During market downturns, cooperatives act as a safety net for farmers. Additionally, various agricultural associations provide pre-sale and post-sale services. The collaboration between cooperatives and agricultural associations ensures broader market access. In 2020, Taiwan's watermelons hit a 50-year low price due to the pandemic. Many restaurants couldn't operate, leading to unsold watermelons. Since watermelons cannot be exported or stockpiled, there is a concern that selling a single watermelon might reduce the sales of other fruits. Therefore, Chen Chi-chung, the head of the Council of Agriculture, suggested processing the watermelons into juice and having the national tea beverage industry purchase them for juicing. He mentioned that this approach would raise the price of watermelons, with the government absorbing the cost difference. In contrast, China's approach is summarized in a well-known quote from Xi Jinping, stating that the Chinese people's rice bowl must always be firmly held in their own hands and mainly filled with Chinese grain. He has repeatedly highlighted that food security is a crucial foundation of national security and that ensuring food for over 1 billion people is a top priority in the party's governance. In 2023, the Chinese government compiled and published his numerous remarks on food security in a book titled Excerpts from Xi Jinping's Discourse on National Food Security. In regions like Henan and Sichuan, there has been a push for a return to farming movement, which involves converting forests and orchards into grain fields, even planting rice on slopes and dry land to ensure food security. However, observers note that this policy goes against scientific principles and is marred by chaotic enforcement, which likely leads to failure. Another issue is that many farmers blindly follow trends in planting without much intervention from the state in their crop choices, leading to homogeneous products. Farmers also lack knowledge about staggered planting times, resulting in large quantities of the same product hitting the market at the same time, facing low prices and sluggish sales. In 2023, China's economy declined and the youth unemployment rate reached 20%. Scholars warn that the youth unemployment problem may worsen in the short term and could persist for up to a decade. In response, China's government media, People's Daily, recently published an article urging young people to move to rural areas, quote, where the motherland and the people need them most, unquote. This statement promotes Xi's policies. In February 2021, People's Daily quoted Xi Jinping as saying that it is necessary to promote the revitalization of rural talents, encouraging those willing to move to the countryside to feel more confident and inspiring all kinds of talents to make full use of their abilities, showcase their abilities, and achieve great things in the vast rural areas. For older people who experienced the down-to-the-countryside movement in China between the 1950s and 1970s, these words are very familiar. This phrase has long been a CCP tactic to address severe unemployment issues. Dissatisfied Chinese people have commented that while high-ranking officials' children live in luxury, they urge the children of ordinary people to endure hardships and call for leaders' children to lead by example. The CCP's culture is characterized by quick fixes, hopes for instant wealth, short-term gains, superficiality, and grandiose but uncompleted plans. In the face of severe unemployment, the CCP is now encouraging young people to return to rural production to solve urban youth employment issues. Christina Chen, an assistant researcher at Taiwan's National Defense and Security Research Institute, believes such policies will not effectively address unemployment. The lying flat trend, or the significant population pursuing civil service exams, shows the struggles of today's youth. Although large-scale protests are unlikely in the short term, these policies could lead to further social problems in the long run. At the 2023 Taipei Security Dialogue, experts and scholars from the US, UK, Singapore, India, and other countries discuss the challenges China poses to global order and democracy. In the session on China's internal governance and financial development, Christina Chen addressed China's economic and youth unemployment issues. She noted that mobilizing companies to create jobs and encouraging young people to endure hardships in the countryside are ineffective solutions. One reason is that youth unemployment is a structural problem that cannot be resolved simply by increasing job supply. Guangdong is China's leading economic province, but on April 4th, 2023, news emerged that Guangdong plans to organize 300,000 youths to return to the countryside. The down-to-the-countryside movement, which tormented several generations of Chinese people, seems to be making a comeback. Since April 4th last year, rumors have circulated on overseas social media about Guangdong's action plan, which aims to achieve 5 goals by 2025, involving 320,000 youths. These goals include organizing 100,000 youths to assist in rural areas, connecting, enlisting and training them to improve rural skills, encouraging 10,000 youths to seek employment in counties, and supporting them in entrepreneurship. 55 years ago, to eliminate the threat of massive urban youth unemployment under the CCP's rule, Mao Zedong launched the down-to-the-countryside movement. Millions of youths were forced out of the cities and effectively exiled to remote areas of China. Many lost the opportunity to attend university and suffered under intense labor, hence named China's Lost Generation. Faced with a 21.3% youth unemployment rate and potential public protests, the CCP seems to have revived this policy in 2023. Under this policy, the CCP has not introduced new supporting measures. Although China is a major agricultural country, its agricultural policies lag behind those of developed countries like the US and Japan. The government fails to understand that poverty alleviation and solving unemployment require creating shared, sustainable strategies rather than extreme measures. This is similar to the CCP's zero-COVID policy of locking down cities. Since the outbreak of COVID-19 in Wuhan at the end of 2019, the CCP has adhered to a zero-COVID policy, implementing extreme measures that violate human rights and lead to numerous tragedies. In late 2021, Xi'an City, Shaanxi Province, faced a resurgence of COVID-19, and the local government imposed another lockdown, ignoring people's hardships and causing food shortages. These measures are just the tip of the iceberg. In 1957, Mao Zedong hoped to rapidly develop China. However, he did not understand the objective laws of economic development. If a more modern term is used, the Great Leap Forward can be seen as Mao's implementation of the Chinese dream. During the first 5-year plan from 1953 to 1957, China experienced rapid economic growth. To surpass the UK and catch up with the US, a large rural population was mobilized to produce steel, neglecting grain production. Trees were cut down, and steel was produced in backyard furnaces, resulting in poor quality steel and significant damage to agricultural production. One of Xi Jinping's core Chinese dream elements is to eradicate rural poverty. Peng Jia, a judicial department worker in Mianyang City, Sichuan Province, who participated in rural poverty alleviation, said that after Xi set the goal of achieving complete poverty alleviation by 2020, local officials spent 70% of their time filling out forms to prove the task was complete. In response to the higher-ups' demand to improve rural housing within 3 months, local officials in Fuyang City, Anhui Province, spent $1.2 billion on whitewashing houses to make them look better to visiting leaders. However, this project was hastily executed, with many houses only partially painted. Despite the removal of Fuyang's party secretary for formalism, Xi Jinping announced on February 25, 2021, that poverty alleviation had achieved, quote, complete victory, end quote. Chinese labor activist Han Dongfeng noted that officials' efforts to meet Xi's requirements amounted to a political show, diverting their attention from other tasks like workplace safety supervision. Reports indicate that Xi Jinping is aware of the dangers of formalism and bureaucracy, but proposed remedies seem only to worsen these issues. Xi's Chinese dream has been around for a while. However, Hong Kong-based Chinese political scholar Zhang Wei believes that Xi Jinping's dream illustrates that Chinese leaders still prefer to use their personal will to dictate the thoughts and political actions of the entire population. In this regard, it is entirely consistent with the past. In contrast, American civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream was a vision for society's future without forcing others to act to achieve it. However, Xi Jinping uses the Communist Party's propaganda machine to promote his dream as a political and ideological goal, turning it into an administrative measure that requires national effort. This is the fundamental difference. Now, as the Chinese dream shatters, watermelon farmers are urging young people not to return to the countryside.